Sun Guest says, are local citations still relevant? GMB is dominating now. So how much does it still impact rankings worth working through all the citation sources like Yelp, Yellow Pages? Citations are still important. If you've got a valid business address, I recommend building citations. If it's a spammed business, for like lead gen stuff, if you're getting, for example, with lead gen stuff, if you go out and get an actual physical address, like a PO box, right, and you use the street addressing option, then you can still get away with building citations because you can list the street address, right? The street address plus the number sign and then the box number. And that still works perfectly well. If you're buying a verified GMB, which is essentially it's a spammed address somewhere, I don't recommend building citations in that situation or that scenario. And the reason why is because if it was an address that was pulled from somebody's house, which I hope people aren't building them that way, then you could literally start getting marketing mail sent to somebody's house. A lot of the times those addresses are going to be spammed from a commercial location. But once again, now they'll start getting solicitation mail, like physical mail with that company's name on it, because now, like, if you start building citations in Yellow Pages and things like that, you get put on, the company gets put on mailing lists. And now direct mail, spam direct mail, solicitation offers will start getting sent there. Credit card offer, like business credit card offers, all kinds of stuff. And so that's you can get reported that way by the recipient of that mail, right? Because it's going to have some other company's address on there. So I don't recommend that. Also, I don't like to publish the address. One of the other questions we had recently was if it's a service area business and you're hiding your business address in the GMB, which you should, as per Google's terms of service for a service area business, should you go out and build all the citations without the street address? Well, there are only a few platforms that I know of that will allow you to do that. Most platforms, to build a citation, unless it's changed recently, because I don't build my own citations anymore. I haven't for the longest time. We hired that out. But for the longest time, I know that most platforms would require a street address, or else it wouldn't allow you to add a citation to their platform, right? So again, for NAP stuff, for service area businesses, if it's a spammed address, I don't recommend building citations. I'll do everything else but citations. But if you have a valid business address, or you go get like a PO box where you have a physical, a place to send mail that you can go collect, then yeah, absolutely, they're still effective. There's no doubt they're still effective. I still use them all the time for clients and everything else.
I would also add that if you can get hyperlocal citations, those are really effective. And when you're looking at the greater picture, where in the semantic web, we always have to think the entity. It's just another way to validate your entity. It's your presence in all of these places. It's places where you've taken the time to go and get that citation, get it done properly, so that the more powerful ones like Yelp, those could become part of your same as, and it just adds validity to your entity. And we did the webinar not too long ago, right, for MGYB Syndication Academy, where we talked about entity. I can't emphasize it enough how important it is, and one of the reasons why RYS Academy Reloaded, the drive stacks, work so well is because we focus on the entity right from the beginning. And we push power to the entity so that we go after what I call the end game. I suggest for those of you who didn't get a chance to see it, I mean, you should go. Do we have it on MGYB? Do we have the URL? Because I think people should go and watch that all day long till they get.
Be on our YouTube channel, as well as on the MGYB store on the webinar page now. Which isn't that in the header in the navigation menu now?
It should be. So just to drive this into people's head over and over, whenever you start working on anything, even if it's fake, you have to make it look as real as possible to Google, that there is a thing on the web, and that this thing has some kind of validity. And we talked about the different ways to validate your entity.
So just to talk, since we've got time, let's do this. We still got 20 minutes, and it looks like some more questions popped up, but let's talk about this very specifically, because you mentioned hyperlocal citations. So what I want to do is kind of demonstrate here how to find those Now, if you can hire a lot of citation building services that will do this now. Marketer Center is a pretty good spot to get some of these. It's still kind of automated. If you want to, I mean, they have like, lists that they build from. I think the best citation building service available is Loganix. There's no doubt, but it's more expensive. You're going to pay more for it, but it's a really good service because they build structured citations and unstructured citations, social citations, document citations, video citations, audio citations, all of those. And then they hit all of them with backlinks. Like they automatically build backlinks to the citations as part of the service. They've got a monthly citation building service, $150 a month. For clients, it's almost standard operating procedure for me. Because it's just a really good service and they do really, really well. They perform well but for hyperlocal citations, I'm just going to use this as an example. I think we were using Plumber Fairfax a couple of weeks ago for an example. So one of the ways to get hyperlocal citations is, one is to take a look at competitors. So like, let's say that John C. Flood was, which is the plumber site that we're looking at, was a client of mine, okay, or a lead gen project, whatever. Let's just say that was the case. One of the things you can do is take a look at the top ranked. I mean, he's doing well organically, at least. Maybe not so much in maps, but he's doing well for organics. But maybe look at FJ Hooks Plumbing, who's #1 in maps, and put that into a notepad file, right? So I'm just going to say FJ Hooks Plumbing Inc. And then I always use, this is the way that you can do this, guys. You use two of 3 data points for NAP. It doesn't matter which 2, but I typically use the company name and the phone number. Okay, so in this case, it's going to be 703-591 1284. Okay, do that for each one of the top 5 or so. So it would be FJ Hooks, Longs Corporation. I think that's the example we were looking at a couple of weeks ago. Calabrese Plumbing, Home Service Doctors, and My Plumber Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, right? So I would take the top 5. I would copy down or jot into a notepad file or an Excel sheet or something like that, Google Sheet, whatever, their company name as it's listed in the in the Google Maps, right? And then also their phone number. That's typically the 2 data points that I'll pull, right? And I'll copy that and I'll just go over to Google and I'll do a search, okay? And then what I'll do is, and again, you can train a VA to do this, guys, is go through all you need to do is go through like the top 2 pages and copy the URLs, or at least note. You don't need to copy the URLs for your competitors or whatever. But in this case, this is the this is the top level, the one in number map, the #1 position in maps. So go through and take a look. Manta, I'd put Manta in the spreadsheet. So if you got a spreadsheet or a notepad file, it doesn't matter. I just put manta.com. Yelp, yelp.com. Okay. Facebook, we know that's a big one. That's a branded profile anyways. MapQuest, checkbook.org, which is interesting. I've not seen that before. angieslist.com, white pages. So you guys get the idea. I would go through the top 2 for every single one of the top 5 listed maps, your competitors that are listed in the top 5 in maps, right? And if you're in the top 5, then you're going to select the top 5 plus besides yours. So what I'm saying is, if you're in the top 5, then you're going to select maybe 1, 2, and then 4, 5, and 6, or something like that. My point is, get the top 5 competitors compared to where you are, and then copy their name and their phone number down, and just do a search, a simple Google search. And again, you can have a VA do this and go figure out. Just make a list of the top level citation directories for those companies specific to that area. Does that make sense? That's one of the ways to get the best performing citations for your specific area. Guys, there are niche directories, like plumbing directories in this case. And then there are national business directories, which are like Yelp and Manta, for example. And Angie's List would be another one. But then there's hyperlocal citations. And we're going to walk through a quick example of that too. But regardless of even the different types of directories, again, national, which are common, that's what we see the most. Niche directories, which are powerful because they're topically relevant, right? And then there's local citations that are going to be common to specific areas. In other words, there will be certain citations that are going to show up repeatedly for Fairfax plumbers or plumbers in Fairfax, that I could go to Richmond, Virginia, which is, I don't know, 90, 100 miles away, and they're going to be different set of common citation or business directory type sites that are common down there. So what I'm saying is every area is slightly different. That's why you can't just have a master list and expect that master list to perform the same across all different niches in all different locations. That's why it's very simple is when you go to Google and you use Google to determine that, again, you can have a VA do it. Take the top 5, do a search for their name and address or name and phone number. I'd use name and phone number. And then just write down or put into a notepad file or an Excel sheet the business directory domains that are on the top 2 pages for each one of those 5, right? And then you can, you'll see commonalities. The ones that are common across all of those or across all 5, which you'll see some of those are going to be your most powerful citation sources. So make sure you're listed on that. Then to Marco's point, to go hyperlocal, what you would want to do in this case, also you can go, remember, like I said, niche directories, right? So you could type into, just do a Google search and say plumbing directory, right? And I misspelled plumbing, but plumbing directory, right? And you go right through here. And okay, Home Advisor, I don't like Home Advisor, but myzipplumbers.com, that's a local plumbing directory. eLocal, that's a national directory, but they have a plumbing category, obviously. The plumbinginfo.com, right? So nationalplumbersdirectory.org. So this is how you very easily just put in your service, your keyword, whatever directory. And now you've got niche directories. Those are more powerful than just plain national directories, right? Because they're topically relevant. All right. Now, lastly, for getting hyperlocal citations, in this case, we're going to say Fairfax County Business Directory. Right? Boom, right there. Web.novachamber.org, business directory. That's NOVA stands for Northern Virginia. DiscoverFairfaxVA.com, business directory. Fairfax County EDA, Economic Development Authority. Get your business listed there, or your client's business listed there, right? Alignable, fairfaxcounty.gov business, right? Find out how you get listed on the Fairfax County. That's the official Fairfax County government website, guys. You can get listed there. Find out. Sometimes they're paid listings. Who cares? It's not usually very expensive, and it's worth it because these are what Marco just mentioned are hyperlocal citations. They're very, very powerful. And it doesn't just have to stop with business directories. You could put Fairfax County blogs, all right? And find, because a lot of the times you can actually get listed on Fairfax County blogs, guys. Sometimes it just requires outreach to the blog owners, and maybe you have a press release written or something like that, and you reach out. And again, you don't have to do this. You can hire people to do this and have them reach out to because guys, these are all local blogs now talking about events and activities and places to go and products and services and all of that kind of stuff that are hyper local to this area. Those types of links are so much more powerful than links that anybody can get from anywhere from like national directories, if that makes sense, because Google understands there's that geographic relationship, there's that geographic relevancy, and it's so much more powerful. And so again, these are all kinds of things. I mean, there's a ton of them that just popped up right here, right? That you could potentially get listed on. Fairfax County, let's say newspaper, that a lot of the times there's business directories there. And there's also, and you could put online newspapers, things like that. But there, a lot of the times there's classifieds, and you can get, those are powerful citations. You can run little online classified ads that will give you a link from those local newspaper and online newspapers. Again, very, very powerful. Something like topics. Topics, we used to hack these years ago. If you guys are familiar with topics, there's topics.com, Fairfax. That's like a forum. And there's a location forum, like the site is siloed well, and it's got forums specific to locations. And you can actually kind of, this requires like some social engineering stuff, but you can actually go in and start a thread and like with a profile. You want to use multiple profiles with multiple IPs, but most of you have that kind of stuff anyways. But you can go in and register and ask a question, like, and start a new thread in this case, like the Fairfax County topics category. And there's a lot of traffic and traction in there, guys, and it's very, very powerful. And you can start a thread and say something like, hey, I just moved into the area and I really need a good plumber in Fairfax. You work your keywords into the question. Any recommendations? Right? And leave it like that. And then log in with another account that under a different IP that you may have answered, you may have commented on some other threads within that same category, the same Fairfax category, so that you're not just posting a link. Because a lot of times in these types of forums, that if you're new and you post a link, your comment will get moderated out. So if you season one of those accounts to where you can, you created some comments. Again, guys, you can hire all this stuff out. You can train a staff member or a VA to do this kind of stuff for you. But if you season an account so that you get past that threshold to where you can drop a link, then you use that profile to go in and answer that question from the other profile. Hey, I just moved into the area. I'm really looking for a good plumber in Fairfax. And now you drop the first comment underneath that is, hey, here's a great plumber. It's, what was the one that I was saying was my business? FJ Hooks Plumbing, Inc. They're located in Fairfax. Here's their phone number. Here's their website URL. Now that's a citation from a very powerful local business forum, with it now being the first comment in a new thread, and other people will come in and chime in on that thread. And that social engagement, other people commenting on that, actually pushes more power into that particular thread and makes that citation even more powerful. That stuff's very, very powerful. Most people don't do that because it's not as easy as just going and hiring a citation building service. It requires manual work, but if you want really good results, that's how you do it. I mean, and again, guys, you can train a VA to do this stuff. It's not something that you can find in a service online typically, but you can train a VA to do this stuff for you, and you're going to get much better results. Okay. So hopefully that was helpful. See, we can do this in Hump Day Hangout sometimes, but that's usually what we do in our paid groups, right? Go into training.